Hello, welcome to Shamullahcast. As always, my name is Fairburn, and I'm joined by Josh and Frank. And today we're looking at the Cornetto Trilogy, directed by Edgar Wright and starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. So, Frank, I know that this is a favourite of yours, so I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts? But tell me what you think, what you don't like, and we'll go from there.
Well, I absolutely love this trilogy. It is one of my favourite trilogies of all time. Then again, anything with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, perfect.
Even Paul.
You know what? It's hit and miss with Paul, right? But we'll get into that in a different episode.
That's it. No, on his own. It'll be tonight, don't
Yeah, we'll talk shit about Paul today. We're not talking about Paul.
That's the red-headed stepchild, that is.
Alright, that's...
I'd go as far to say, though, that this is held quite deeply in the heart of everyone in the UK, to be honest, this trilogy. I have not met anyone that dislikes the Cornetto trilogy, and if they do, well, they're just blatantly lying to be cool.
I do agree. I've never met anyone that's said anything bad about them, actually, and for good reason. They're very competently made films. I think Hot Fuzz is I would go to say probably a perfectly made film.
I would say that, actually. I'd say Hot Fuzz is one of my favourite movies of all time, as a matter of fact. I would say that this trilogy, is the dawn of the Edgar Wright style. I know these days we have things like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which obviously is engrossed in his style. We have Baby Driver and things like that, which, all the great uses of his music and his editing and things like that. But this is the dawn of it, and, even with a small budget, you can see what he did with all the cash went into the movie in the perfect way. What would you two say about that?
Yeah, I'd agree. And speaking of money, they're quite cheaply made for big films. I think Shaun of the Dead was only $4 million,
which is minuscule when you think about it. When you think about I wouldn't say when you think about a small movie.
When you put it into perspective, I mean, the locations, the people, the props and everything. That's still not a load of money.
And you got to pay the actors and so on, and yet it still went perfectly. In fact, speaking of paying the actors, in Shaun of the Dead, most of the extra was just paid with a can of beer.
Oh, I read
half a British payment.
Yeah,
exactly.
I read it was only £1 as well a day,
and we'd be fine with that.
Oh yeah,
because you get to be in a movie,
and you've got a free can of beer and £1,
and it blew up. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then with that £1, you can buy another can of beer.
I think most of them were fans of Space as well. I think they signed up.
Online.
You know
what? I've never actually sat down and watched Space, and I've heard a lot of good things, but the thing is with British sitcoms, for me, they're either really good or really bad, and I'm not willing to put myself through the situation of finding out one way or another.
Frank, have you watched Space?
I haven't seen Space, but I have heard it's really good.
I started Spaced. I have the attention span of a nut. So not as in a crazy person. I mean as in a peanut. So I don't really sit through TV shows a lot. But from what I've seen of Space, it's all right.
I've seen a few clips here and there. Well, it's early 2000s, isn't it? Really early 2000s.
Yeah, when you see Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, you can tell.
Have they got awesome spiky hair?
You can just tell. They just the way the stuff they wear and the way how much younger they look.
And Edgar Wright, he wrote a few episodes, didn't he? He didn't create the entire thing.
As far as I'm aware. Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he wrote a few episodes, and Simon Pegg. They worked together a few times, and then obviously Simon Pegg was good friends with Nick Frost, and then he brought him in, and obviously this whole spiraled from that.
Well, that's what started Shaun of the Dead. I think there was a zombie sequence, and they were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we just made a zombie film?" And then it spiraled from there, and we've got the trilogy.
Well, obviously, they wanted to make it comedy, obviously, which it works perfectly as.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make it satire, but it doesn't go into the absurd though, which is something I really appreciate. Because sometimes, you've got these spoof movies, and I'm not talking about classic spoof movies like Airplane. I'm talking about things like Vampires Suck and things like that, where they think funny is just throwing shit at the screen and making you laugh, making fun of the thing you like.
Yeah.
And that isn't what Shaun of the Dead is. It is still a zombie apocalypse, with just a bit of humour sprinkled in there.
It's because it focuses more on the character, and I think that's what a lot of spoof films should do. You mentioned Airplane and Naked Gun, you're laughing because these silly things are happening to these silly characters.
And they're all written very well.
Yeah, something like Meet the Spartans, Spider-Man shows up, and the guy from 300, and then they go away, and I'm like, what if I went to watch Spider-Man 300? I'd watch one of those films.
Exactly, those movies literally just go, oh, look, and this person is doing something he wouldn't do in his movie.
Yeah.
Well, these movies, more so Shaun of the Dead, is paying homage to things like Dawn of the Dead, and,
yeah, exactly.
And you can see that as well. Obviously, the name itself is an homage if you really want to deep dive into that. But you can see it when you're watching it. It is still a zombie apocalypse movie.
So, well, all right then. We'll start with Shaun of the Dead, and we'll go more into that. So, all right, yeah, okay. Well, first off, what do you think of the film overall? Then
honestly, I would say it's probably, and you may disagree with me on this, it's probably my least favourite, only because I feel like it's the least focused for all three. Still an amazing movie.
I would probably agree.
Like, it doesn't feel like it packs as much punch as the rest, but you've got to see it as a stepping stone, haven't you, for Edgar Wright and the actors? They come into grips with working together.
I mean, for like not a first film, I don't know. I really doubt that's Edgar Wright's first film, but like for a start, I think it's great. I think it's just probably I don't know. It just doesn't stick with me as much as the other two.
I know exactly what you're thinking. It's just kind of like when you watch Hot Fuzz, you know every scene of Hot Fuzz. You can recount it. Yeah. And World's End, even though people say it's the worst one, I don't know, it's the diversion of expectations in World's End that I really like, and that's, I think, what sticks with you. Like, it starts off as generic going to the pub, and then all the alien shit happens, and that's what sticks with you. With Shaun of the Dead, everything just kind of happens, and then it's over.
Yeah. And
it's not bad. It doesn't overstay its welcome, as a matter of fact, and none of these movies do. They're all the perfect length, in my opinion. But
they don't. None of them stick too long.
And don't be mistaken, we're not saying Shaun of the Dead is forgettable, because it isn't. It's just doesn't hit the highs of, say, Hot Fuzz, for example, or like the absurdity of World's End.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know that this one. I know when I said about it's not trying to be absurd, but the absurd. When I say absurdity, regarding World's End, that's more the point of the second half of World's End, so that makes sense. Well, the first two obviously aren't trying to be absurd, so that's why I'm saying that anyway. But I'm babbling there a little bit. But go ahead, carry on, boys.
Sorry, Frank. What are your thoughts, Shaun of the Dead?
Shaun of the Dead. It is a really good film, as you both said. Though it's not the best of the three.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now. It's been so long since I've watched it, although I've got it all in my head.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. It's all there, but it's just a collection of scenes and things happening, so it's not as good. But I really enjoyed it, though. I really enjoyed the effects, considering the low budget. Think about that, you know.
I think it looks. Like I said, I think they're perfectly made films. I think you think of the scene when Dylan Moran has been ripped out of the window and they're ripping his stomach open, like.
Well, he deserved that.
Oh, of course he did. Yeah, get fucked, Four Eyes. But it looks fantastic for £4 million. Like, you can't go wrong. Really.
And I can't take his face. He balled. I know that's the point of his character.
Yeah.
But I just cannot deal with him in the movie. I'm glad that he got killed.
Oh yeah. That's Ron said. He did deserve it. But I mean, he was gonna fucking shoot Shaun.
Yeah, how dare you kill the man? Okay, how dare you kill Simon Pegg?
Yeah, his name's in the film. You're getting you're die.
You're so done.
Yeah.
Actually, you know when his girlfriend goes out there to save him and she off-screen dies, quotation marks.
Oh yeah.
There's actually a comic book.
Oh yeah.
And she survives.
She climbs into a tree or something.
Yeah,
she escapes.
It's some shit like The Walking Dead where Glenn died and he climbed under a bin and turns out Glenn isn't dead. He pulled the body over him.
Wait, is Glenn the guy that got ripped apart?
In The Walking Dead, they were in one of the seasons.
The Walking Dead. Oh, sorry.
No, in one I thought
you meant Shaun of the Dead. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, his head gets exploded like that.
A lot of zombies, a lot of dead, a lot of eating going on here. You know, it's easy to get confused. To be fair.
Yeah.
I also love the use of music in this as well.
Yeah.
It's not used as much in this one, obviously. Again, it's the dawn of Edgar Wright, if you want to look at it like that. So.
It's also the dawn of the dead. No,
but like when they use Queen.
Yeah. Don't Stop Me Now.
Shooting.
It's fantastic.
Beating him in time to it. That's great.
Is it Brian? What's his name in Queen?
Brian
May. They asked him for permission to use it because obviously we don't have the budget for this.
Yeah.
And he was like, have it for free.
Oh wow.
He loved the scene and the idea so much. He was like, put in the movie for free.
That's not like Brian May from what I've heard.
So this movie is good, as you can tell.
He's like, so where am I in it then? When do I come in? When do we talk about Freddy?
When do I come in and play guitar?
Yeah.
And save the world?
We save the badgers.
When do we feed the world?
Saying that, though,
when do we live it? So,
because they used Don't Stop Me Now, the popularity of the song really surged.
Oh.
So it just meant more revenue for Queen.
That happens all the time with Queen, though, doesn't it? Like, Queen, okay, let's be honest, everyone loves Queen, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But, it kind of dies down from time to time because it's not in the public zeitgeist as much. And then, like, in Wayne's World, for example, it's in Wayne's World.
Oh, yeah, they save their career.
Yeah, and then there's a massive explosion, and everyone loves Queen again.
Yeah, and then in turn, saved Mike Myers' career, and that's why he's in Bohemian Rhapsody.
I didn't know that. I knew he was in there, but I didn't know that's why he was in it.
He said that was his way of giving back to them.
Oh, that's fantastic. I really like that, actually.
Because they were originally going to use a Guns N' Roses song, and he was like, "I've got to use Queen."
You've got to use Queen. No, you have.
Yeah.
What would they use if it was Guns N' Roses anyway?
I think it's Guns N' Roses off the top of my head.
Would they use Guns N' Roses the song?
Probably.
Probably Paradise City.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty good song.
Yeah, but can you see them jamming out in the car to that? Though?
Not as hard as Bohemian Rhapsody.
But that's another point though about Edgar Wright though. Like he can choose songs for the movie so perfectly.
He's got the right. He's got his finger on the pulse. He knows
exactly what to do.
Yeah.
He does the Tarantino thing where when he's like getting a bit of writer's block, he sits down and listens to music, and then he builds the scene around the music rather than the scene, and then puts the music in.
That is very
which I think is a really good way of doing things.
Yeah.
Like I say, good way. It's an amazing way of doing things actually, because it's not many directors do that, do they?
It's very different. Yeah. No, his use of music is immaculate, to be fair, and they're very. It's very iconic. It's like a
musical, even, in some ways.
Yeah. What am I trying to think? It's like a. Oh, fuck's sake!
It'll come to you.
It's like a calling card, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, exactly. It's his bread and butter. It's his building blocks for his movies.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then things like we watch Slaughterhouse Rules, for example, and they try to copy the Edgar Wright style with music and editing.
I was going to say they just these films just want to be Edgar Cornetto films so badly.
And like Paul, for example.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Paul, it's not like the editing and stuff. It's more the use of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in that.
I think it's everything. I think it's the use of what's his face, fucking Seth Rogen, and I think he's shit.
Yeah.
I just think it's arrogant. The writing is just arrogant.
Well, like you think that they think they're too good.
Yeah, I think that you can tell when they're like, "This was funny." This
is the funniest thing we've ever written.
Like, the audience gonna laugh at this part.
And then nobody did.
Yeah.
and then nobody watched the movie either.
Yeah.
The 10 people that watched Paul didn't like Paul.
Yeah, good. So they shouldn't have.
But like I said, moving on maybe to Hot Fuzz, because there's not too much to cover in Shaun of the Dead realistically. Like I said, we've talked about it because again we'll see that as a stepping stone to the next movie.
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz is in every term, in every sense of the word, is better than Shaun of the Dead.
Oh.
In the editing, the acting, the use of music. Even the use of colour and setting up later on, everything is set up so perfectly and immaculately.
That is another building block that he uses. I'm trying. There's a freeze in my mind that I'm trying to think of. I can't remember, but you know what I mean. Like that's another Edgar Wright style thing. All of the dialogue comes back into play,
and they
did it in Shaun of the Dead really well, to be fair, but it comes better in Hot Fuzz.
And I think that's kind of why people didn't like The World's End as much, though, is because people saw Hot Fuzz as this god tier movie that it improved upon everything from the first one.
Yeah.
And then the third one, which is still good.
Yeah.
It just didn't improve upon the last one.
Well, yeah.
It's Ghostbusters 2 syndrome all over again. It's the fact that the movie is still good, but we all wanted the next one to be so much better that we don't like it as much as the one before it, and that's just the way it is, isn't it? We kind of dug ourselves into a grave a little bit by wanting the hype train to go as fast as it did.
Yeah, I think Hot Fuzz is definitely the most talked about, still talked about film out of the three.
I genuinely think it is the movie I have watched the most ever. Period.
What, in all films general?
Yeah, I must have watched it at least 50 times. And half of it's not by choice. I go visit my family and they're watching it, or they put it on because they know I like it. But that goes to show they aren't proper movie nerds like we are, and they just love it, and it's just on all the time.
I as of now study film. Things might change, but I study film for anyone's listening, and the Hot Fuzz is brought up every class, or nearly every other class, as an example, or as as an answer to something, or we still study it and whatever, and then the lecturers are surprised that people know what Hot Fuzz is, and I'm like, you don't realise how big these films are, yeah.
And the thing is as well, everything that we talked about, making of the movie, the way it's written and everything, it's not pompous in any way. It's not trying to be intelligent. And that's what I'm trying to say. It works so well because it is easy to be taught in a film class.
Yeah.
It's all just the perfect bread and butter building blocks for a movie. You don't have to deep dive into it. This is it. This is why the movie is good, and that is it. And it doesn't have to be this bombastic over the top thing. And
yeah,
that is
there's no message or anything. It's not trying to hide anything. It's just having fun with itself.
Exactly.
It's poking. I think that's maybe not World's End as much, but I think that's what Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are doing the most, is that they're paying homage, and they're also jabbing you in the ribs a bit with certain genres, you know what I mean, obviously Shaun of the Dead. You know what I mean? That's clearly Dawn of the Dead. You know, a spoof, and like Hot Fuzz is just. It's just every American action movie that's ever been made.
Exactly. and it works perfectly. And they nod to that the entire time as well. Yeah. Have you ever shot your gun up in the air and gone, ah? No, I have not shot my gun up in the air and gone, ah.
And they try to do the rollover thing in the car and he falls.
And it's perfect. It's fantastic.
Do you know what? I think what works is that they make fun of it while they're also being in it.
Yeah.
There's a spoof of cop films, but it's a cop film. They talk about about bad boys, but they are also like bad boys with the action.
That's what I wanted to say. Actually, is like when we talked about Shaun of the Dead just now being like point A to point B, and it does that well. There's not a lot going on, is there? There isn't really a narrative happening.
Yeah.
Now, Hot Fuzz, on the other hand, I think that it has a super investing narrative the entire time. Like, think about this. The first time you've watched it, you're kind of like, who is the killer? Why are they killing? I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Who in this village could it be? Because it could literally be anyone.
Yeah.
And they all get trinkles of character development, to be fair. And they all give off weird vibes, which is the perfect murder mystery.
I think what works is because they cut the fat and they just throw you in. You don't need to know Nicholas Angel's backstory. You just know that they put him in the countryside. He's a good job. He does a good job.
They put him there because he's so good.
Yeah.
You're making us look bad.
And he's like, what? Fuck off. And then he's there, and then you get to see him walk around and meet these weird people, and then shit starts happening and you go into
as a protagonist, he's perfect in a way because we are also... He's new to the village, we are new to the village.
Yeah, exactly.
It's as weird to him as it is to us as the audience, to be fair. Because let's be honest, how many times have we all gone through a village in our time and been like, these people are going to eat this?
Well, this is how I feel in uni.
You have to live it every single day.
Yeah. I feel like that. We come and visit you as well.
Yeah. The montage when he's on the train and he's sitting with a potted plant. That's how I feel.
It's a Japanese piss lily. Japanese peace lily. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I really liked about this as well is the acting is a lot better. Like Nick Frost's character, he's more or less the same as in Shaun of the Dead, but Simon Pegg really gets to show his acting chops in this, I'd say.
He's got a lot of range.
He does, exactly. He's in fucking Mission Impossible these days. He's in absolutely everything.
Yeah.
But, Sergeant Angel and Shaun are two completely different characters.
Yeah.
And you never look at them as like, oh, it's just Simon Pegg being Simon... No, he's actually acting, and it works very well.
Well, this is the interesting thing. Obviously, Pegg and Frost are like a duo, you know what I mean? They've cemented themselves as that. But, like, as most comedic duos, you have the straight man who've got the comic relief, but they take it in turns. You almost don't realise in like all three films.
Oh God, yeah!
Like, Shaun of the Dead, Shaun is quite normal, and Ed is like the dickhead, and then I mean, like, I suppose, like, they have a laugh together, and then he's very strict in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I would say in Shaun of the Dead...
He's a bit of a goofball. I mean, in Hot Fuzz, he's a bit of a goofball than Nick Frost. And then World's End, he's
the complete straight man,
It's Pegg is the dickhead, and then Frost is the complete straight man, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I never thought about that, really, actually. I legitimately never thought about that. That's actually very interesting to think about. I also really like how all these side characters in the village, like I said, get their own development, and, like... And some of them are just so comically evil, like Timothy Dalton's character.
It's just Timothy Dalton.
Yeah. There's a reason why he never ended up as like in Bond for a third movie. Let's be honest, he was too villainous to look at.
Too evil. Bond's a psycho, but you are just evil.
I think the comedy lands, and I think the horror elements land. I think the mystery elements land,
and the action, I think, is pretty top tier.
And just think about that, right? All the things we've just said all work together perfectly to make a perfect little clock. They just reference Incredibles, maybe a little bit, but it's true though, isn't it? They all come together, and to balance all of those things, and they're all completely contrasting things, and they all come together so well.
Frank, what are your thoughts?
Oh, it is a perfect film. I love it. Josh said he may have seen it about 50 times. I've seen it 100.
I'll have to catch up now. I think... Sorry, Frank, go on.
No, I was just going to say I love all the development of each characters. You've got the progression of Simon Pegg. You've got Nick Frost, who's still a goofball, but not as much.
Yeah, what's nice is you get to see them grow into a real friendship.
Yeah,
like you see Peg, like Angel, whatever his name is. You get to see him starting to have a laugh and take that stick out of his ass, because let's be honest, he's a bit of a prude and everything. But like it is nice. You can tell that they do care for each other and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that as well. Like even though at the beginning they're such contrasting characters, they come to love each other as brothers because let's be honest, they've gone through a lot together. Yeah. I suppose a murder mystery would do that to you, wouldn't it? I suppose. And I just think the comic, like I said about the comedy, though, it's just fantastic. Like the sense that this town is so removed from reality. They're like, oh yeah, all of these deaths are clearly accidents. She fell on her own shears.
Oh well, you know.
Leslie Tiller was fucking murdered.
And the gargoyle landed on his head. They're like, gargoyles fall all the time.
Do you know that was a reference to The Omen?
Yeah.
And Death on the Nile?
Do you know who died in The Omen though? Who was killed in that scene?
Is it Timothy Dalton?
No. Patrick Troughton, who was the second Doctor Who.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, fun little fact there. Doctor Who tidbit there. But again, though, that's, I mean, Edgar Wright pulls from so many different things, and it's just nice little homages or references, and again, it's not in your face, and it works perfectly.
In the commentary, he says that, like Darren Aronofsky, Jean-Pierre Junot, and Scorsese, like he gets like his editing style and like quick pace from them and stuff.
And he's made it his own, though.
Yeah. Apparently, he's people ask him like, oh, did you steal like all that stuff from Snatch? He's like, no, I just stole from Scorsese, like fucking what's his name, Guy Ritchie did.
Well, let's be honest, right? That's okay because Joker is blatantly Taxi Driver, and no one talks enough about that. So I think he's okay.
He's even got what's his face in it.
Robert De Niro, exactly. Yeah. So I think if he can take a few homages from things and make his own story, I think it's okay. Let's be honest. If they can literally steal a movie and just stick the Joker in it, I think he's allowed to do that.
Yeah. Alright, so we'll move on to The World's End.
Hang on, before we do.
Yeah.
I have to say, right, the fight scene at the end between all of the evil villagers and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Absolutely perfect.
And you know what? No one... He doesn't kill anyone.
No, he just seriously injures or maims them.
Yeah. And apparently that... he's Pegg, because obviously Pegg wrote all of them with Edgar Wright. Apparently Batman was the inspiration.
Oh, really?
For Nicholas Angel, yeah.
I thought it was because he's such like a by-the-books British police officer.
Well, his name is Angel, to be
fair. He's the good guy, alright. He's wearing white all the time. I was like, he's like a by-the-books British police officer that, you know, you're trained not to kill in the UK, unlike America where...
oh, yeah. I suppose there's that as well. There's that,
but that's what I mean, though, like the fact they look into these things, though. Do you know what I mean? To make this movie.
You know, I think his personality as well comes from Batman. I mean, like, you can see it, you know, the way they talk.
The stoicness of the way he moves around. And now he has all the answers to literally everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, World's End. Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, great.
I used to be quite conflicted. I used to really like the first half, and then I think when it went into the robot stuff, I was like, okay, obviously I'm expecting something, and then like, I don't know, I just kind of used to lose interest.
I really like it. I don't know what it is. It's the diversion of expectation, because first time watching it, what was I, like 13, 12, around that era, I was watching it thinking like, oh, it's just a few blokes going to have a few pints, and then it all goes wrong. and that's why I like the premise though, because like, that's just like anyone else on a night out, isn't it? Except obviously with evil aliens.
Yeah.
And again with the acting though in this one though, like they're all playing different characters again, and they're all doing good jobs at that. And also in this one, they've added a lot more main characters in to balance it out, and they're still doing a good job.
I think everyone is great at it, and I think you can really feel that they used to have a friendship. You can tell.
And same for all of them on set. It looks to be like they exactly like all of them would have had a friendship in real life.
And they've all been in the same. You know, they've all been in these films together. So like, you know, obviously like they've built on top of that as well.
I love Paddy Constantine in this movie. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a great actor in general. Like, I've just watched House of the Dragon, and I think he was fantastic in that, to be honest.
Freeman is Omen. I can't remember the other guy's name.
Yeah, he's just odd guy.
Where's now?
Actually, speaking of him, he looks a lot older than the rest of them.
Yeah, a lot
older. I was quite surprised that they put him in. Like, he's a good actor, but I was like, are you sure you're in the same year in school?
Is it Eddie Marson?
Yes, that's it, yeah. What's his name in it?
He is Peter.
Peter.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, he's the first to go, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, he's not, because the old man's the first to go and he's second to go, isn't he?
Yes,
because he has a fight with his bully, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Martin Freeman first.
Because he gets replaced, doesn't he?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, no, he hasn't been replaced. And they're in the nightclub, and he's like, no, hang on, let's stay here, let's get pissed. Let's enjoy these teenage girls. Like, hang on a second.
Even though,
no, that's the marmalade sandwich.
Even though they're in their 40s, 50s, however old they are.
They're in
gotta be the 40s.
No, it's just yeah, from the mind of Edgar Wright there. Yeah. But I do really enjoy this movie more than Shaun of the Dead. I'd even say, to be honest. And like maybe because I have an aversion. I love sci-fi. I love the way it's blended together. and I think it's done very well. There's not really a use of music in this one to a degree of Hot Fuzz, for example, or Shaun of the Dead.
The only thing I can remember is when they're in the nightclub and it's that Kylie Minogue song and you see the Mammies and they go, remember the old days.
Just put that in your mind a little bit. Nostalgia.
So, okay, it's a bit on the nose, I get it, but it's a good
Simon
song.
Pegg's character, Gary King, there we go. Gary King's like, oh, I'd love to remember the old days. That'd be great.
That's the whole point, to be getting the gang back together.
I tell you what, though, there's not much I really disliked about any of these movies, really. Like, as you already know, we haven't really discussed dislikes. There's nothing to really dislike about these movies.
I don't really dislike anything. Frank, what about you? I know, because I know you feel the strongest of these films.
I'll tell you what, with Shaun of the Dead, I didn't like the... Oh, fuck, what was his name now? The third roommate?
Oh, is it Pete?
Yeah, Pete something.
Yeah, because he's played by Peter Sefrin...
The gigantic man.
Yeah, Sefrin Niskowitz.
Gigantic naked
also
man.
the voice of Darth Maul.
Oh.
No way.
In something, yeah.
Wait, no, he's not.
He's played Darth Maul, I know that much.
Because I could swear the guy...
Someone pull that shit
I
up.
could swear the guy who played Starkiller voiced Darth Maul and Palpatine.
I think he played... He did him in the films or in the anime. I'm sure
watch
he played
watch
Darth
it be a Lego, like one of those Lego DVD movies now.
Well, I'd still technically be right.
Yeah, to be fair, it's a Lego Darth Maul.
But I'm a big fan of him.
It's not Ray Park, is it?
No, it's Peter
No.
Serif...
Self-Schnimm.
So, yeah, I think he's got like a Polish last name. I can't
Should we
pronounce
inbox Edgar Wright and ask his name?
it. Yeah.
Maybe he'll reply.
I've got a list of the Darth Maul...
Serafinowicz.
I've got a list of the Darth Maul voice actors here and he's not on there.
I swear he played Darth Maul. I'm not a liar.
The guy who played Starkiller is the one I'm thinking of, Frank, if he's on there.
Starkiller.
No, look, Peter's... Right, here we go.
What was it on? I'm actually very interested to see this.
Oh, wait, hang on.
As much as I do dislike Star Wars these days, I'm very embedded into my Star Wars.
Oh, he was cut out as Darth Maul.
Bye.
Oh, okay, alright.
They pulled the Matt Smith on him, like when he was going to be the main villain in Last Jedi, and then they were not Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, and then they were like, Matt Smith, no.
And then he was a villain in Mobius, so you know it's. All
I do feel kind of bad for Matt Smith actually, because he was fucking Doctor Who of all people, the biggest hero of all time,
He knew what he was doing.
and now he's just typecast as a villain. Last Night in Soho.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh,
It's
it's
a Edgar Wright film, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, it's really good as well.
I've been wanting to watch it actually.
And he's really good in that. Like, Matt Smith, House of the Dragon again with Paddy Constantine, he's great in that. He's not good in Terminator Genesis, but who is? Let's be honest.
Oh, right, sorry. I know we're flying off track here. Dear listeners.
We've got to know, though. We've got to know
he was the
answer.
first actor to provide the voice for Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace, dubbing his voice over that of Ray Park for grunts, and for each of the 3 lines of the character in the film. He also provided the voice for a Gungan Scout and 2163, but wasn't credited in the film. He did the voice recordings of Maul in Solo, but was replaced by Sam Witwer.
There he is, Sam Witwer. That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking of. He's Darth Maul and everything.
So
now.
I was like half right.
Sam Witwer is so known as Darth Maul now. They in Solo where they had him come back at the end.
Yeah.
That they had Ray Park come back as the physical body, and then they were like, Sam Witwer do the voice still.
Fucking, I feel a bit bad for Ray Park.
Well, to be fair, he just does all the moving.
It's
doesn't
like what
he?
they did with Darth Vader.
Oh, that's
And he walked out of the theatre because he thought he was expecting his voice, and then it was James Earl.
yeah, but
like,
have you
"Hello,
actually
Darth
heard his voice though?
Vader." Yeah.
Bring me the rebels now! I demand it now! You know what I would have really liked to have seen, since we're talking about the Cornetto Trilogy and Edgar Wright?
Yes.
Is the Edgar Wright Ant-Man movie.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of I'm disappointed that we didn't get it, but I understand why you would walk away because, we're all Marvel fans, but we can agree they're a bit.
By the formula.
numbers,
exactly,
yeah.
and he wanted to break the formula.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it was early days in the MCU, but it was
fairly relatively into it.
yeah, it was like 6-7 years in, so
Yeah.
and that thing that's like 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's half a lifetime ago. And I think he would have done an amazing job, or at least just to have seen what he would have done would have been interesting.
He was very interested in it. He'd had the idea for a while, so clearly there was a vision there that we'll just never get to see.
Oh, never in a million years will we get to see
So
that.
that is very disappointing.
So I think he left on very bad terms with Disney as well.
Oh.
There was a massive argument.
Really?
Yeah, because they wanted it their way, obviously, which is the way it was made in the end.
Feige's a bit of a he's a bit of a silly boy.
He's a bit of a tyrant, isn't
Yeah.
he?
Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
We completely subsided you. Carry on. You didn't like Pete. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Pete. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Well, that is the point, I suppose.
He's a weirdo. He is. He's a strange little man.
I tell you what, it's 4 in the fucking morning, boss.
That was his one good line in the entire film.
And then he just goes,
Actually, I'll tell you what I didn't really used to care for the ending of A World's End, and I still don't really understand, because, like, after, like, that
the world blatantly ends.
Yeah.
As the title of the movie says.
After that big confrontation with, like, Peg and Frost, and they tell, fuck off back... And Constantine, they tell, fuck off back to Legoland, you cunts, and then, like, they live in harmony, the humans and the blanks. And then... He's not an alcoholic anymore, but he's still going to pubs with robots.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I don't really like it.
You know what, you've reminded me now. His arc isn't really an arc.
No, he just does a 180.
He stops drinking, fair enough, but, like, he's still living as a child.
Yeah.
So, like...
With the robots, and he hated them the most.
Yeah.
He got to see his friends as children, like, when they were younger.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted. He wanted
to be young, like,
yeah.
when he's...
I know, but, like, wouldn't... Like, it would have been better if he learned that, like, living... Like, in the past is wrong.
Yeah, surely, like, I guess he's a nomad and stuff, and he's roaming the earth, but, like, surely it would have made more sense if he was killing the robots.
Yeah, I suppose.
I feel like that just makes him... I know he's weak, but, like, I think that just makes him
I
weaker.
dislike the fact, like I said, that his arc completely got stunted there, to be honest with you. Like, it doesn't feel like... Yeah, he stopped drinking, but... he's still a child.
Yeah.
So, like, he's still this guy who hasn't learned anything, realistically speaking.
And I feel like after all of that, you would go through some shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, internally, like, after all the stuff that happens to them in that night.
But I am so glad, because Simon Pegg's character is an asshole, obviously. I'm glad he didn't end up with Rosamund Pike, though. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
He did not deserve Rosamund Pike.
No, he doesn't. No,
and Paddy Constantine, as nice of a man as he is, he did deserve her, so he can go off and run into the wilderness with her.
Well, the way they wrote the ending of that, they wanted to bring it into a sequel. Like, they wanted The World's End Part 2.
Yeah, I've heard there's things about The World's End 2. Is that true? Is that, like...
I hope they're true, but there's been nothing, like, online.
I don't feel like Edgar Wright would do it, though.
I mean, like, I feel like...
He's very one and done.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't... I don't think he likes the idea of sequels.
No, I don't think he does.
Like, he likes encapsulated stories.
So, like, here's a question for you boys, then. If you could choose a sequel for one of the Cornetto trilogy, what would you choose and why? And what would you want out of a sequel?
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard in a way because again they're so encapsulated. They don't really leave room for a sequel.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like Shaun of the Dead, another zombie apocalypse.
Well, they were going to do From Dusk Till Shaun.
Right. Okay.
Which was a vampire sequel. Obviously, they didn't.
Oh, I would like that actually.
But if you look closely into the Spider-Verse, you can see that in Times Square there's a poster for it.
Yeah.
Because there's an alternate universe.
Yeah.
But you know what we got instead from British movie developers? We got lesbian vampire slayers instead.
Yeah.
And that was so good with James Corden. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome James Corden.
And Gavin Horn? No, his name is Gavin. And Gavin's...
Fuck it, he's just Gavin.
Matthew Horn.
There we go. He's kind of talented. He's a good writer.
He's alright, yeah.
James Corden, though. Right, just put out there, we disliked James Corden before it was cool to dislike James Corden.
Yeah.
So, and thank fuck he wasn't in these movies, otherwise they would be bad.
Well, there would be no trilogy. There would just be
Exactly.
one, and then everyone would hate it.
Exactly.
Like Strippers vs. Werewolves.
Because he's a terrible actor.
Terrible person.
And what about you, Frank? What do you think you could, like, if you were going to choose one to have a sequel, what would you go with? And what would your ideas be?
Definitely Hot Fuzz. I would like, obviously you've got, Sergeant Angel has moved up to Inspector, Danny has moved up to Sergeant, and everyone's like moved up rank. I would like to see them visiting, say, like 10, 15 years in the future. They've got their kids in, they're bringing them into the force.
Right.
But there's another mystery.
15-year-old police officers, children in the police force.
I said 15 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah, so have that. But yeah, they're training them up to be police, and then maybe they're, the Illuminati circle.
Well, I like that,
assholes,
actually.
They come back, and
Okay.
maybe there's some more mysteries they haven't solved with that.
I wouldn't mind if, say, Shaun of the Dead crossed over with something. Maybe like The Evil Dead or something.
Okay.
That would work.
Yeah.
Like, because again, these stories are so encapsulated, I don't know where they'd go. Like, The World's End to me, I really don't know where that story could go.
I feel like The World's End is the one with the most potential for a sequel.
I don't know what I'd do. What would you do?
I don't know, like...
Maybe you could have,
Like, would the aliens come back? Would they be rebuilding society?
I was
But
gonna
then,
say, yeah,
how could
I
they
suppose-
make that comical, though? You know what I mean?
And there's still room for, like, humans versus robots, but I mean, like, I suppose it's already been... I don't know, like, I suppose I don't really... Like you said, they're all encapsulated.
And the question is, with especially World's End, with Gary King and stuff. Do you really want to see those characters again? Like, some of them left off on the perfect footnote.
Yeah.
Nick Frost's character has got his family, he's moved on, whatever. Paddy Considine's moved on with Rosamund Pike. Gary King's doing his own thing. He's the only one that doesn't have a bookend, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, like, do you really want to pull Paddy Considine and Nick Frost out of their happy ending to possibly put them in something where there's no happy ending?
Yeah, I suppose they've all had an arc. Do you know what I mean? So then, like, a kind of like.
But then you're stuck with just Gary King then.
Yeah, I mean.
And then you lose the dynamic of all these other fun actors with him then.
Yeah, and then you've got just Gary King and a bunch of headless robots. So he's just talking to himself.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe he meets other people, but then, like...
See, so that's why I wouldn't do it personally.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they're all left perfectly where they are.
if they're going to make something, I think it should be a spiritual successor, like these were to each other. Maybe make something in the same vein as these movies, with the same cast, but something completely different. But the question is, how completely different, and what would you do with that? That's the real question.
Yeah, I don't know. I really.
We've got murder mysteries, we've got action, we've got sci-fi, we've got horror, we've got gore, zombies. Like, what could you even do?
We could have one in space.
You make it a rom-com. you make it a Friends parody.
I mean, I suppose there are romance elements in all of them.
Yeah, actually, there are. To be fair, are there in Hot Fuzz?
Well, he breaks up with his girlfriend, so maybe not. Maybe the least in Hot Fuzz, but the first two definitely.
Who is played by Galadriel in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I haven't seen Lord of the Rings. So.
And also Peter Jackson is also in that scene as well. No, he's not in that scene.
No, he's the one that stabs his hand.
And obviously, so they're all good friends, to be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, it's kind of hard to think because we aren't Edgar Wright. Obviously, we aren't paid the big bucks to think of these ideas.
No, we don't have a brain.
Maybe if we were getting paid millions, maybe we would be able to come up with an idea. But again, like, he's such a good writer, it's hard to think of what he would do next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Like, we've talked about other films like Avatar and stuff. We have a rough idea of where those movies are going to go.
Yeah.
But, like, what could you do with these movies?
I think they should just be left.
And would you risk ruining the previous ones?
Yeah, I really think that they don't need sequels.
I don't think so either.
Like, at first, when I heard the idea of, like, a possible sequel to World's End, I was excited, but now talking about it, I think, like, well, there's nothing you can do.
Exactly, like, again, it's just done. They're all one and dones, and I'm happy with that, to be honest. When it comes to Edgar Wright, though, what do you think that, like, what do you think would be, like, a perfect movie that he could make next? Like, what do you think could be, like, obviously Last Night in Soho is, again, it's a completely different situation again.
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, completely different again.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think would be a good thing for him to do? Even if it's an adaptation of something.
Oh.
Like a comic book, because he loves comics, same with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, same as he was going to do Ant-Man, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Would you like him to maybe take the mantle up of something in the MCU, maybe?
No, if he was going to do a comic book film, I want him to do it, like, on his own.
You know what I'd like him to do, actually? I think he could really reinvigorate the Kingsman franchise.
Oh, okay.
Off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I really think he could.
No, because fucking God knows they need it.
And they had the world in the palm of their hand with Kingsman. The first one was spectacular. Again, Ghostbusters 2 syndrome. The second one was good, but not as good.
And then the Kingsman is
that was just something else.
That had one strong scene and nothing. All right, maybe two strong scenes and nothing else.
And the actors were good, and that's it.
They're good actors and other things.
They wasted Rasputin.
Yeah, Reese fans.
He's fantastic.
One of our own, he is.
Yeah, Welsh boy.
Yeah.
Wasted him. It's just sad, isn't it? It's just truly genuine.
Because I remember being excited, and then I remember just every couple of every 20 minutes or so, I was like, oh, okay, it's kind of not.
Is something going to happen now?
Yeah, and then something does happen. You go, oh.
And they do the villain reveal, and you think, who's this?
I couldn't care less.
It's like, right,
I just want him to die already.
Exactly. I don't know why you were in this. Like, we didn't need you to be in this.
No, I didn't remember his name. I just know he was angry and
so I think it could really, like, because let's be honest, Kingsman is quite similar to Edgar Wright's style as it is.
Yeah.
So I feel like if he kind of, like, breathed some new fresh air into the franchise, we could get a good Kingsman sequel, like an actually good one.
What if we have Simon Pegg and Nick Frost as Kingsman?
Oh, I really don't know about that. I don't know if I can agree with that one. It reminds me of when they wanted to do the 22 Jump Street Men in Black crossover, which never happened. Which I would have been...
I prefer that over what we got.
Well, international?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I would...
Internationally hated.
Oh my god.
Internationally
That was one of the worst weeks in cinema of all time. We went to watch that and Hellboy 2019.
And Dark Phoenix.
And we nearly walked out on all three. We've never done that with any movies ever.
I walked out of Dark Phoenix with a headache.
And all three
That's
of
how
those
angry
movies.
I was. Not even angry, I was just like, what have I just watched?
Why have they done this? Why have they done this to this franchise? With these amazing actors and these amazing characters.
Yeah.
But no. But yeah, I would say I've covered pretty much everything. Like I said, there's not much negative to talk about with these movies. Is there anything else you two want to add on, to be honest? Because I think I'm pretty much happy with this, if I'm honest.
I'm just looking at my notes. I haven't
Like
really
any
got
fun
anything else.
facts, anything.
Well, tell you one thing we haven't actually touched on are the Cornettos. Like the actual flavours.
Oh,
and
the
what they
Cornettos
do.
themselves.
Oh, so the
Right,
red.
you're going to have to educate me because, again, I don't really eat Cornettos. So you have to educate me on this, Frank.
Okay, so you got strawberry cornetto in the first one.
Yep.
Red, blood, obviously all the gore
Yeah.
and zombies and shit. You've got vanilla in the second one, blue, for the police. And then in the third one, you've got mint, green, aliens.
So going back to what we said earlier now, because you've just made my mind jump a beat now here. Are there any other Cornetto flavours?
I
Yes.
don't know, actually. I haven't eaten
What are
Cornettos
they?
in years.
Oh, I've got to think myself now.
Pull that shit up, Frank.
You've got the strawberry vanilla, obviously you've got chocolate, the main three. You've got
What
mint.
do we do with chocolate? What kind of underground exploration?
Is it
Sonic Underground. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could do sewer horror movie with evil Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah,
Because they all smell of literal
and they
feces.
fight Sonic Underground.
Well, I suppose I actually could go back to Slaughterhouse Rules because they spend a lot of the
Oh
fights
yeah,
underneath the night.
yeah, because it leads to
Yeah,
hell.
but that's
Thankfully,
not-
that's not an Edgar Wright film.
Luckily.
Don't give them the satisfaction of us pretending they're anything near an Edgar Wright movie. Let's be honest.
Yeah, just like Paul, just like that terrible, terrible film, Paul.
Maybe we will cover Paul actually.
Mm.
Maybe. But yeah, like I said, I'm got anything else, plainly because I think these movies are so good that, let's be honest, this entire 40-minute podcast has just been positive.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
And even the
I've generally
negative
got
things are
nothing
just
against them.
less positive things because
Yeah.
everything else is so good. What about you, Frank?
Which film?
Any of them, any of them, anything else you want to add on as a last minute chuck on, because I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest.
The only other little note is in Hot Fuzz, the dog Saxon.
Yeah.
He was an actual police dog,
Oh.
but they fired him because he was too friendly.
Oh.
Well,
I hope someone adopted him after that film.
he's gone now, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
He's
probably.
got to be gone now.
Well,
He was like 1 or 2 in the.
Oh, so he
the
might
film.
be not, because German Shepherds are always like...
Yeah, they only live like 10 or 11.
Maybe he's really healthy.
They die, maybe.
Maybe he's really like shredded.
Maybe he's eating the vegan diet.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like Liver King.
Yeah.
Without the steroids.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to close it out there then, gents?
Yeah, alright then. We've been Shamullahcast, and we understand that you've got a choice of 750,000 other podcasts, and we thank you for listening to ours.
Thank you very much.